Hi, I'm Benjamin Bernstein with AstroShaman.com. My theme today is the power of group healing. And I want to share some recent experiences I've had around this and maybe give you some ideas about how you can incorporate this into your life in a wonderful way. So when this really struck me really powerfully was at a recent event where I was on staff. It's called the Wild Man Gathering. We do this every year here in the Asheville, North Carolina area. And we had 60 men gathered for a weekend, and this weekend was centered around 4 elemental initiations: fire, earth, air, and water. And the one that really moved me in this theme was the earth ritual. It was the last of the 4. And in this ritual, we'd had a story going all weekend around Osiris and the Egyptian gods in mythology. And the idea was that each man, when he was cued, would die, fall over. The other men, there were 8 or 9 of us in each little grouping, would then wrap him in a shroud, place him in a shallow grave, throw some dirt over him, and then stand vigil over him until he returned from the underworld as Osiris with some kind of message. And of course, the messages all seemed to be about love and the importance of love and open hearts, and that seemed to be the message that was coming back very consistently. But that's actually a sidebar to my main point. I was the leader of my small group, and when the first man was in the ground, I noticed some of the men were a little fidgety, not quite sure what to do with themselves. And I said, I just recommend that we each give our full, undivided attention to the man in the ground. And they synced right in. By that time, we had a good group vibe going. And for several minutes, while each man, until he decided to come out again, we would just hold silent space for him. And what I noticed happening was that the men standing around the grave were processing energy through their bodies. They were coughing or shaking or, obviously moving, belching. Things were happening where what in Peru and the South American shamanism they call hucha, H-U-C-H-A, which is waste energy. The energy equivalent of piss or poop, as I like to say, was moving through their bodies from that guy. And we had not planned this. This was not in any way intentional. I just saw that we had created a group field. I felt it very keenly that, we had all bonded together and we had a shared energy field as a result. And as a result, whatever that man was going through and processing in the ground, his brothers standing guard were processing it for him. And it happened every single time. And I started commenting on it, and the men said, yeah, I feel that happening too. And so that was so beautiful to see these men, without even intending to, holding this magnificent space for their brother. As it so happened, I was aware of a book by Lynn McTaggart called The Power of 8, which I highly recommend if this subject intrigues you. The whole book details these very intense experiments she's done, very carefully controlled, where she has groups of people hold healing intention for another person, and whether that person's in the same physical space or whether they're somewhere else in the world and they're connecting by Skype or something. Excuse me. The person who intention is being held for, who does give a very clear and specific intention, and she learned that the more specific the intention, the better. They let the group know this is exactly the healing I want. And very frequently that healing happened, like miraculously. Things that Western medicine would say were not possible would happen either instantly or very quickly after the healing was received. And also, as an amazing boomerang effect, the people holding the healing intention themselves received oftentimes miraculous healings and fortunate changes of events. There's all these adages we hear about, as above, so below, as you give, so you receive, do unto your neighbors, you would have them do unto you. And all this stuff actually works energetically really fast, especially when there's several people sending energy. Her book is called The Power of 8, but she says, as long as you got at least 6, maybe a dozen, it's good. And of course, you can have far more than that holding an intention, and it just gets more and more powerful. So I noticed, and it so happened there were about 9 or 10 men holding a space, so that was about the right number according to her. And then I decided I would test it a little more. So I haven't made a big deal out of it yet on my site, but I've relaunched, or rather transitioned from a program I had been running called EASE, the Embodied Awakening Support Experience, Now, as of October 1, it's become Awakening Plus, and it's a much more expanded thing, much more to it. But as the first official group event, which was the night before last as I record this, we as a group held healing space for individual people on the call. And of course, we're all just connected by Skype. People are scattered all over the world on this call. And 2 women volunteered. And what happened, the first woman said that she had arthritis in her right hip. And at that moment, her pain scale was like 7 out of 10, pretty intense pain. So the group held space for her, and we held space for quite a little while. Lynn McTaggart says, I think she says 10 minutes tops. Our group actually held space for more like 25 or 30 minutes. That's just how long the energy wanted to keep going. And by the time we were done, the first woman, said, "Oh my gosh, I don't have any pain in the hip at all." And she got up and moved around and said, "Oh my God, I haven't had this kind of mobility in such a long time." So that was great. And then the second woman said, "I need sexual healing. I cannot have full orgasmic sexual expression." And so we held that intention for her. We started in the genital area, but the energy reshifted itself to her heart because it's the old wounds and traumas she's had emotionally that are causing the shutdown most likely. And she had some really powerful heart clearings, some powerful sobbing and clearing. And by the time her half hour was over, again, we didn't mean for it to last a particular amount of time. It just went as long as it went. She felt greatly more open in her heart, greatly more open. She felt more sexual energy moving, just broadly available. So that was a fantastic healing for her. And then the next day, I had a woman who was one of the space holders said, "I feel such a stronger connection to the divine now. I think what we did last night really opened me up." So there was the bounce back, the boomerang effect happening. So I'm super excited about this. I'm a shaman by profession, as you may know. But what excites me more than me heroically stepping up and doing something on my own, I'd rather have people tap into their own innate ability. Even when I do a shamanic healing, I'll always see first, can I get the client to where they can heal it for themselves? Just teach them the super simple way to tap into their own healing, call in their own healing, etc., and receive it. And I'll just sit there and watch, and by God, sometimes they just heal themselves. Didn't know they could do it. But it's all the old adage. Would you rather hand a person a fish and have them eat for a day, or would you rather teach them to fish and have them eat for the rest of their lives? So I'd rather teach people how to fish. So I just wanted to share these couple of stories to illustrate the effect. If this intrigues you and you're not already tapped into the potential healing power of group prayer, then that book, The Power of 8 by Lynn McTaggart, is a classic, and I highly recommend it. If you want to really go deep on how it works on a technical level, she is a spiritual person, but it comes from a highly scientific viewpoint. She lays out study after study she does and how rigorous they were about making sure they were having a demonstrable, clear effect. And those principles are amazing. Or as we did in our group, I'm obviously aware of McTaggart's work, but I didn't, just bind us to her protocols or anything. We just got together, we called in sacred space, and I was, "Okay, who wants a healing?" And the person just said their intention clearly, and I said to the group, "Okay, just hold space for them. Hold the intention that person's getting that healing." And that was pretty much the instruction. And I've told you already what kind of results we had. So imagine what would happen if you got a few people together and you just said, "Okay, let's each in turn, if we have time, each person say the healing they want and receive it." And I've been in a small group that took this even more broadly, just whatever you want. It doesn't have to be healing. What energetic shift would you want in your life of any kind? And if the group holds intention for that, then it's vastly empowered. I study some material called the Law of One, and the channel being who gives that information says every time you add one person, it's not a plus, it's like a logarithmic multiplier, not 1, 2, 3, 4, like 1, 2, 4, 8, and it just keeps multiplying out. So every person who gets added to a group with intention vastly amplifies the effect. So anyhow, just a thought. If you want some big shift in your life, whether it's healing or anything else, what if you called a group of people together and you said, "Hey, let's set intention and let's hold energetic space for each other." My experience is you don't have to have any training. Just understand we're all holding intention, and if you all have any sensitivity and you can feel the energy moving, you as a group will feel when the energy is still working and when it's finally eased off and done. and it might be interesting to play with. So that's my idea starter for you. How could you work with a group of people in order to give each other healing and or any other energetic boost for whatever you think would help you? So that's it for now. Again, I'm Benjamin Bernstein with astroshaman.com, and I'd be delighted to help you with astrology or shamanic healing or awakening activation or life coaching. If you're into astrology, I've just started a new mentoring membership, which you can read about on astroshaman.com. And later this month, October, I'll be opening to the general public this new Awakening Plus program that I've just talked about. We're sort of in the beta mode now with the former EASE members. So really excited to get that rolling as well. So anyhow, check out astroshaman.com if any of that interests you, and thank you for watching.